All right, everyone, welcome in to episode 138 of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports, the only sports podcast to talk about both American and Brazilian sports. It's a rare afternoon edition since I, Nick Hill, here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States, have the afternoon off, and my counterpart down in the Americana South out of Brazil, Gustavo Tomazeli, also happens to have a Monday afternoon off, which is very, very rare. We never have this occurrence.
That's true. It's day offs, especially half day off because Rio Branco played yesterday. Normally, Rio Branco plays on Saturday, then we have Sunday off, and then we go back on Monday. But since Rio Branco played on Sunday, then it kind of changed the schedule. So I also have the afternoon off. And, yeah, that's weird. Normally, when we record it, it's nighttime, and now it's daytime. So that's a little bit weird. But let's get going.
Absolutely. And, I will fully admit we are kind of in the summer dead zone now for Sports for America because we are 2 months away uh, from football starting. And, of course, basketball and hockey has finished up. So we're kind of just in that time of year where you only really have hockey. You have racing and baseball. We're going to have the Olympics here in a few weeks. I've got Wimbledon on the television right now, but obviously that's in England, so I'm not really pertaining to our podcast here. But this is I don't know who this guy is. Some Danish guy named Rune versus the Djokovic from Serbia. But
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 yeah, so
the
then we can start with the Brazilian topics. Brazil is kind of also, it's a little bit dead, not totally dead because we have the Brazilian Championship, but there's no Brazilian Cup, no Libertadores, no Sul-Americana. That's all after the Copa America finish. But you know, Copa America, Brazil also had a really disappointing end. Nil-nil, a tie on the 90 minutes, and then on penalty kicks, Brazil lost 3-1 to Uruguay. So Brazil again is out of Copa America. I guess Brazil does not do well in Copa Americas in United States. The last one in 2016, Brazil was out in the group stage. Only winning one out of three games. Guess the game I was in, the one they won, 7-1. So Brazil, when they need me to be there to be the lucky charm. But nevertheless, a lot of criticism, especially. Let me pull up a scene. If the scene that everybody comments about, um, during the penalty kicks, which was Dorival Jr., Brazilian head coach, not being included in the last gathering before the penalty kicks. So let me try to find a picture of it, but that's what everybody was discussing. The lack of leadership of Brazilian head coach. Especially in a crucial time. See, that's it. So see, you see the players all gathering around talking about the penalty kicks, and he seems to be like a little bit outside of the group of
he just looks
the
confused.
yeah, yeah, he looked confused. He looks a little bit outside. So that's why everybody was talking about how he was. He doesn't seem to be a coach that like gives leadership vibes. He's a good coach. In the last 2 years, he won Libertadores with Flamengo, Brazilian Cup with Flamengo and São Paulo, but he doesn't seem to be quite ready yet. And I saw in Brazil had that those kind of experience coaches who uh, did well in Brazilian teams, but didn't seem to be ready for the Brazil national team. Still, he's still the head coach, hasn't not did any decisions so far. But the tricky part is Brazil in the kind of you know bad era, or seems to be disappointing era. And today, interesting day, today 7-1 day, 10 years ago on July 8th, 2014, in Mineirão, Belo Horizonte, uh, the biggest loss by any team in World Cup history. 7-1 in the semifinals at home. I think that will never happen again. So I
I mean,
think this
I
time,
to ask you because obviously I remember we didn't know each other back then, so I was just watching from up here in Tennessee. I was what 15 when that happened, and I just remember thinking and seeing the faces in the crowd, especially when they went down like 5-0 at like the 30th minute, thinking, "Oh my gosh, how is Brazil ever going to recover from this?" Because psychologically hosting that World Cup, especially with all the controversy of that World Cup, and then for Germany to come in like that and punk you in your own country. I mean, psychologically, it's a decade now. I mean that's have you guys has Brazilian soccer recovered from that?
of course, it was only 90 minutes. Was just a game. Of course, was in the semifinals. Brazil, despite all the political controversies, hosted a good World Cup. It was a good World Cup. There were a lot of, the stadiums were good. Everything worked out, but of course, the morale of the country went down. It was funny that the government at the time, led by the Workers' Party, thought if Brazil win that World Cup, they would have continue in power. But that World Cup disappointment led to the impeachment process of then President Dilma Rousseff. Kind of, the disappointment. But then, the years go by and the Workers' Party come back. So it hasn't changed politically. In terms of soccer, mm, I feel like Brazil kind of adopt more European mentality since then, trying to get more European head coaches. The players, as early as 17 years old, sold to European teams, so they are more Europeanized. More shaped into
Right. And
European
I'll say this,
soccer.
I think from the outside's perspective, I think that's a mistake because Brazilian soccer succeeded when they were embracing the samba, embracing their identity. South American soccer looks different from European soccer. I mean, that game versus Uruguay was a street fight. I mean, you guys, those two teams were, it was like a football game out there, how physical it was. And like, they don't have games like that in Europe. And like when I think of Brazilian soccer, I think of flash. I think of excitement. And when I look at this Brazilian team right now, I just don't feel that. Obviously, said they're getting more Europeanized, and I feel like they're losing their identity.
Yeah, Brazil is in a totally. I feel like you got the right word. I since 10 years ago, Brazil has not found their identity yet. Of course, their biggest star Neymar is still out. From a big injury last year, and I imagine he's still gonna come back and be the leader of this generation and play the 2026 World Cup. But he probably going to be his last World Cup. That's going to be Neymar's last World Cup. And then what? Who's going to be the leader of this generation? Like Vinny Jr. seems to be the best candidate, but he seemed a little childish. Picking fights on Twitter. He was out of the quarterfinals because of a silly yellow card suspension. So I don't know if he's quite ready yet. We have Rodrigo, who also plays in Real Madrid. But it's so funny. Like 10 years went by, and it doesn't seem Brazil is recovered yet. But it was a fun fact that also Brazil suffered one of the hardest eliminations in the 80s, the 82 World Cup, since the one of the best teams so far, and they were eliminated. And then 12 years later, Brazil won the World Cup. And now, 2 years, and then in 2026 there's going to be a World Cup. Maybe a hard elimination can turn into a winning a World Cup 12 years later, like it happened in the 1982.
And the
And
United
then,
States.
yeah, in the United States. I mean, there's a lot of coincidence. Just saying, Brazil went 24 years without winning a World Cup from 1970 to 1994, then 2002 to 2026. So
It seems like to me that they're going to get a lot better because right now it feels like they're the fourth best team in their continent because it feels like Argentina's ahead of them, Uruguay's ahead of them, and Colombia all feel like they're ahead of to me.
yeah, no, yeah. I mean, that was an accurate, I mean, assessment. Especially if you look at the semifinals of the Copa America, three out of those four are in, and Brazil are not in, of course, because of the bracket. Uruguay,
Right. I mean, and to be fair, Canada and Venezuela, like Brazil would wax out of one of those teams, I think.
yeah, that's true. I think Argentina, no brainer. They're gonna be in the finals. Only a biggest upset would have kept them out. I think for Canada, went to the semis of the Copa America is a big accomplishment. I mean, everybody expected United States to do that, but I guess
Right.
Canada.
Right. And it's kind of funny because, like, I feel like all of us in the U.S. were hoping this would be a big morale boost heading into 2026. But Canada, let's not forget, Canada is also going to be a host in 2026. And, United States and Mexico are the two teams I think people are really looking forward to here in 2 years. Everyone's forgetting about Canada, but Canada has the most momentum.
Yeah, Mexico also was eliminated in the group stage like US. So, Canada, I guess, gonna have the best momentum. And, whatever happens tomorrow, they accomplished their goal. Argentina, who's trying to get back-to-back championships in the Copa America because they won the 2021 Copa America in Brazil. So, in Maracanã, even though it was in a practically empty stadium in COVID times. So
Right.
Argentina,
But I will say this: I think my pick for the entirety of Copa America, I think Colombia is going to beat Uruguay and then beat Argentina in the final to win it all.
I can see that. I agree with you. I think it's going to be 2-0 Argentina, Canada, then 2-1 Colombia, and then the final it's going to be 2-1 Colombia.
I could definitely see that. In Colombia, if they win this, they'll be one of the favorites in 2 years. And because you think about, like, historically for Colombia, last time they went to the U.S. World Cup, they had the wrong goal,
The golden
the own
generation.
goal.
That was the golden generation.
Yeah, the own goal. And then that player who scored that own goal got killed when he went back home.
Yeah, ironically, his name was also Escobar, Andres Escobar,
Yeah.
and he allegedly was set up to be killed by Pablo Escobar, allegedly. So, ironically, there's even a 30 for 30 called the Tale of Two Escobars, I think.
Oh yes, and so it feels like Colombia has some demons to exercise over that in America in 2 years, like they're doing this year with Copa America. But while we're on this topic of international soccer, the U.S. still haven't fired Greg Berhalter, and I don't understand why. I don't know what the U.S. Soccer Federation is doing. The fact that they haven't, literally, the director, I forget what his name is, he has deleted all the social media accounts because he was tired of hearing it from the fans. Literally, the U.S. men's soccer team and their Happy 4th of July post deleted comments. They were limiting comments.
Oh my God. That's such a smaller club mentality. That's such a small club mentality that I've seen
Right.
time and time again in Brazil.
Exactly. And this is why the United States men's soccer team is never competitive, because we don't expect to be competitive. And
I think it's sporting director Matt Kroger, I think.
Yep.
The guy who we're trying to talk.
Yeah, and he just won't speak on this. And this is as Jurgen Klopp. He had put up an Instagram post on the 4th wishing the United States a happy 4th and talked about how much he loves American fans while he was in Liverpool, and posted a picture of himself in Fenway Park when Liverpool was having one of their summer series games. And I'm just like, is he hinting that he would be interested? Is he hinting at it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a great hire, a morale boost. Maybe he's trying to, go from working clubs to national teams. It would be a great hire. I mean, that was on the names that we put on our top 5 list.
Yeah, and I mean, just from a morale boost, like that would give the United States a huge morale boost right now, because right now there is no morale among American soccer fans. And the U.S. Soccer Federation should be ashamed that they still haven't fired Greg Berhalter.
I mean, another interesting news was Alexi Lalas offering himself for the job.
Right. And Tim Howard literally said that he would fly to Spain and personally talk to Klopp himself. So literally, everyone is begging for the Soccer Federation to do something. If they don't, then man, the next 2 years are going to be rough.
Because there's of course there's Gold Cup, I guess, next year, but
And as I said
a
last week,
useless
I
tournament.
don't care. I don't care about the Gold Cup.
Yeah, it feels like such a because it's a Concacaf Nations Cup, but Concacaf is basically U.S., Canada, and Mexico, of course, and then a lot of other smaller countries who you know in a different level. Of course, Panama can brag, oh, we eliminated U.S. From the Copa America, but you want to be in a competitive, kind of cup, and that's going to be in 2026.
Yeah, I would rather be losing in the or the group stage of Copa America than winning the Gold Cup. Just because at least in Copa America, I know we're playing actual teams. I mean, it's like if Oregon State wins the Mountain West this year in football, no one's going to care because it isn't the Pac-12.
Yeah. So, I mean, for Brazil, also future, it's still won't know what's going to be, you know, Dorival Jr. I guess he's going to remain on the job so far. And Brazil is not doing well even in the qualifying. Of course, it's going to be six nations go straight to the World Cup, and in the seventh place going to like a knockout game. But nevertheless, Brazil is not in a good situation right now, and definitely this elimination of the quarterfinals of the Copa America definitely was something the fans were not happy about. But what Brazilian sports fans were happy about is that Brazil's men's basketball team made it to the Olympics yesterday, beating Lithuania on a great night. Yesterday, they won the Olympic qualifying tournament, 94-69. So Brazil is in the men's basketball tournament in the Olympics. They're playing France, Germany, and Japan. So Brazil's gonna face Victor Wembanyama on July 27th,
Yeah, I don't see that
and
going very
the
well.
host nation too. But yeah, I mean, Brazil's happy to be back to the men's basketball Olympic tournament, and that hasn't happened in a long time. But it's gonna be the last time Brazil was qualified was the 2016 Olympics, because they were the host nation and they were out in the first round. So, um, you know,
Yeah, and of course, the U.S. men's soccer team started the men's basketball team started their training camp this weekend. Um, and there's a lot of talk about who's going to be in the starting five there. Of course, this is going to be Curry's first Olympics. Steph Curry's first Olympics. Anthony Edwards notably told reporters that he should be in the starting five. He believes he's among the top five right now.
oh yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna be the starting lineup. Of course, everybody again calling the dream team. Of course, it's a really good roster. U.S. should be the favorite to get another gold medal, but it's gonna be like always happens. NBA stars always want to be in the starting roster because it's like kind of the I think the men's basketball tournament is the new All Star, because now All Star is like a pick and choose. It's not conference versus conference, more like a player picks player. But in the starting roster of the men's basketball Olympics, then you can see who are the best players.
Right, and like when France plays, it's going to be fun to watch Gobert and Wembanyama play together. Giannis and Greece, they made it this weekend, beating Luka in Slovenia. So Luka Doncic will not be in this tournament, unfortunately. But I mean, he probably needs the rest. Let's be real. So it's probably good for him long term. But still, like it's going to be fun to watch Giannis Antetokounmpo perhaps have to go 1v5 against the U.S.
Oh yeah, definitely. and U.S. and France, I guess, are the two favorite nations to win the men's basketball gold medal. And another quick topics of Brazilian sports. Brazilian Championship had their week 15 yesterday. Corinthians another loss, 3-0 on the road. There was even an altercation between, I guess, a Cruzeiro fan and Corinthians president. The police are investigating, and Corinthians still hasn't hired a new coach, and things are looking very bad for Corinthians right now. Palmeiras got a good win, 2-0. Flamengo tied at home, but still in first place. Botafogo, another win, 3-0 against Atlético Mineiro. So the top four, Flamengo, Botafogo, Palmeiras, and Sao Paulo. Two teams from Rio, two teams from São Paulo. I'm not surprised, Flamengo and Palmeiras, but definitely Botafogo, I guess, now at least solidifying of, hey, I'm one of the top teams, because the second straight year they're gonna fight for the title. But I guess the pressure now is, can Botafogo win the title, not only fight for the title? Because last year there were a lot of excitement. Oh my God, Botafogo hasn't fight for the Brazilian title for so long, and it seems they're gonna win, but they had their terrible loss 4-3 at home to Palmeiras. But it's gonna be interesting battle for the Brazilian championship. And last but
I
not
just hate
least,
to hear that about Corinthians, though. Corinthians sounds like they're just a dumpster fire.
oh, totally dumpster fire. Politically, they're dumpster fire because it seems like the political group that led Corinthians from 2007 to 2023, and they were voted out last year. They seem they trying to get fans to be mad at the current president, and try to pressure him to leave. But everybody knows that the troubles Corinthians are facing right now are not all all because of this president Augusto Melo. Is all the all the bad decisions and all the troubles Corinthians got over the last 10 years. Corinthians had a lot of money problems. The debt is almost in reais, almost in a billion reais. So there it's. I mean, I'll be surprised if Corinthians not relegated, because this seems to be Corinthians year to be relegated. Only, I guess, a miracle or a
I
turnaround
mean, it
would
sounds
avoid
worse
it.
than Santos last year.
Yeah, it seems worse, because at least Santos had a political situation more pacified, was more due to bad hires and a stagnated team. Corinthians right now is a dumpster fire on the field and off the field.
I mean, quite literally, Tennessee Athletics about 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And last but not least, Rio Branco, my beloved Rio Branco, tied 0-0 on the road against São Bento in Sorocaba. I guess you saw the game a little bit. It was a very hard. I call it
Competitive
a
game.
very.
And Rio Bronco had their chances, man. They had their chances, especially in that second half.
Yeah,
So I was somewhat disappointed to see them only get a point out of that, because they definitely could have won it. But still, when you're on the road, especially in that competition, um, it's good to get a point. And right now, I know y'all are on top of that table, at least for this week.
yeah. We're gonna be surpassed no matter what happens, because we are off this weekend on the week 5 of Paulista Cup. We're off since it's 5 teams on the group, so one team has to be off, and it's Rio Broncos weekend to be off. So and because Primavera and São Bento, second and third place, are gonna play, and even if they tie, Primavera will surpass Rio Branco on goal differential. So Rio Branco's going to be in second place. But Rio Branco's situation seems good, because though in the next 4 games, they're going to play 2 at home and 1 in a neutral site, because the Rebel Bragantino game is going to be with no fans, because it's the second team. So Rio Branco, I guess, if they get another 7 points, they're fine. If they win the 2 games at home and tie 1 out of those 2 games on the road, they're fine. They're going to be in.
Yeah, they're playing
But yeah,
strong. So did they finish top 2 or top 3?
top three go the top three go straight to the playoffs, and the best fourth place, like the best fourth place index from all the groups goes in. So all three first places in all groups go in, and the best fourth place compared to all the other groups go in. So it's 16 teams that go in to the round of 16. The second round in the playoffs. And one thing you point out that's fair, that's true. Rio Branco seems to be playing better in the second half than the first half, even though the game against Red Bull Bragantino, they won 2-1 because of two games in the first half. The second half, they played really well. And against Primavera, they won the game, scoring the second half. And there seems to be, in a good direction, But there's still four games to be played. Next week, as I said, Rio Branco is going to be off next weekend. So the next games will be only on July 20th on the road against Primavera. So hopefully Rio Branco keeps this good momentum going and gets into the playoffs. But that's it for Brazilian sports.
Absolutely, Vamos Tigre. I'm definitely proud of the way they're playing so far, because I think they can do a lot of damage there in the playoffs. And hey, you just never know what they can do.
Yeah,
Um,
and one thing, and since you point out something interesting, Rio Branco also is benefiting from the fact that they kept half of the roster who won the fourth division, the Paulista A4. A lot of those teams, even though they have more financial resources than Rio Branco, they probably had to change 75 to 90% of the roster from second and third divisions in the state of São Paulo. So Rio Branco, I guess, is doing great because they're playing the roster. Half of the starting lineup was in the title. Gustavo Oliveira, Vagninho, Luan Carioca, Felipe Moranga, Vitinho, Kailan, Grigor. So practically more than 50% of the starting roster played together this year.
and that's huge. Continuity is always super, super important for success, and I'm glad Rio Branco has it.
Yeah,
But
hopefully just keep it going.
absolutely. Well, moving back over to American sports. Not a lot, as I said. We're in the dead season now. Not a ton going on, but NBA Summer League is ongoing. I've been paying special attention to the Los Angeles Lakers, primarily because our boy Dalton Connect is, of course, their first round draft pick. I've watched a bit of piece of their first two games, and honestly, the Lakers, man, I understand it's Summer League, but still, like, they are running no offensive sets. It's really hard basketball to watch. Connect, he's playing okay given the circumstance. But still, you can tell he's getting used to the higher speed. And I'm curious to see what he does when he's actually playing alongside LeBron and AD and other NBA caliber players. Right now, he's playing with Bronny, LeBron's son, and Bronny is not very good, man. He only played in game one. He missed yesterday's game due to quote unquote knee soreness, but Bronny was awful on offense, awful on defense, and you could tell that he really needs to still be in college. And he's only in the league because his dad is one of the greatest players of all time. So, you know,
I feel sad for Bronny James because it seemed when he was, in high school, everybody was like, "Oh, he's gonna follow his dad's footsteps in talent, in basketball talent." But of course, he had that, I guess, heart issue. He
oh
had a
yes, yes.
So that kind of put his, health in jeopardy and definitely affect his basketball talent. And I imagine that made probably LeBron James wanted him to go, after 1 year of college to go straight to the NBA because he was like, I don't know what's going to happen to me or to him, and then I want to fulfill this dream. Like LeBron is definitely, saying, I want to play alongside my son and I don't want to wait.
Oh yeah, yeah. I get it from his standpoint because LeBron probably only has 2 more years. I mean, just signed a 2 year deal. Um, but still, if Bronny were literally anyone else, he would not be in the league. But I'll be curious to see how Connect continues to develop and how Bronny continues to develop. But really, the most impressive to me yesterday when they were playing the Warriors, Santiago Vescovi. I had no idea he was on the Warriors of all teams, at least for their summer league, and he looked great coming off the bench. Like he had a floater in the lane that was more impressive than anything I've ever seen him do in Knoxville. He made a couple of other buckets. He just looked really energized. And wouldn't it be something if Santiago Vescovi turned out to be like a great NBA player? When it didn't really feel like he was ever great at UT.
I mean, he probably is going to develop even more. And Santiago Vescovi was interesting because he was a good player, but everybody expected more from him. Everybody thought he was going to be better than he was. Well, not he was bad, and everybody thought he was going to be a better player than he materialized.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, he definitely did a lot of good things. I think, especially defensively, he looked phenomenal. So he may have a spot somewhere on an NBA team. Also, I'll be excited whenever the Pacers start playing to see what Triple J, Josiah Jordan James, can do in the summer league.
And what's interesting that he's in a team that has the culture of the 3-point shooting. And in UT, I remember that one of his qualities, the 3-point shooting.
Yeah, but he wasn't a great 3-point shooter. He missed a lot of open threes. I think he had lost confidence at times. So maybe he can, hopefully Golden State can get him that confidence back. But still, I'm glad to see all of our UT guys out and doing well. And it's only good for, that only helps the Tennessee basketball program to show, yes, we can get you to the NBA, which is huge. Also, one last NBA note. DeMar DeRozan traded to the Sacramento Kings. Interesting move. Could make the Kings a playoff team. I doubt it makes them anything close to a championship team, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seemed that the Kings were gonna have a good stretch. It's because last year they were really good, but it seems they're not as good as they were.
Oh, yeah. And I think for DeMar DeRozan, he is trying to, he's just trying for any last grasp. But I think he is better that he got traded away from Toronto, and then they went on to win an NBA championship without him. He was in Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us music video, which, of course, is a diss music video at Drake. And, Drake, of course, represents Toronto. So I think DeMar DeRozan just really, really hates Toronto. For what happened to him, and he really hopes that maybe he can do something great in the Kings, but it's not like he was great in Chicago.
Yeah, he was mid at best, and of course, and I saw that today. Even that Chicago teams are not doing well in any league. Baseball, basketball, hockey. So he was in a Bulls team that was very uninspired.
Oh, for sure. I do think Chicago has some interesting stuff coming up, though, between the Bears. And, of course, hockey has some good young talent. So we'll see what happens. Also, a shout out on the WNBA side. Caitlin Clark had the first ever triple-double by a WNBA rookie as they defeated the New York Liberty the other day, 83-78. And if the playoffs were today, the Indiana Fever would be in the playoffs. So shout out to Caitlin Clark, who is getting better and better every single game. So shout out to her. She had 19 points, 13 assists, 12 rebounds. As Indiana is 9-13.
Yeah, everybody kind of expected that Caitlin Clark is going to develop herself, but she can't carry a franchise who literally draft her because they were bad last year. So it's like with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville.
Oh, for sure. But hey, she is doing what is promised. And I'm sure she is looking for the offseason because I know she has to be exhausted. And of course, she's going to play the U.S. women's basketball team as part of the WNBA All-Star team. And I can't wait to see her and Angel Reese on the same floor. If those two can play well together at all, because Angel Reese, you just know she hates Caitlin Clark. Because those Sky Fever games have been nuts. That rivalry could grow the WNBA by a long shot.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also they have the kind of regional rivalry. So Indiana and Chicago, they're known not to love each other. So that WNBA rivalry can literally be kind of what the league need, that rivalry.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Definitely exciting times ahead for the WNBA. MLB. This is the last full week before the All Star break. So now this is the time of year where I really start to look at standings, start to look at the situations. Where teams are at. Are they trending up? Are they trending down? The Braves, to me, are trending up. They actually just beat the Phillies this weekend, 2-1 in a home series, which is really encouraging because Philadelphia has been the thorn in Atlanta's side the last few years, ever since we won the championship back in 2021. Philadelphia has ruined our season every single year since. But they look good this weekend. I got to watch them Saturday night on the Fox Saturday night game, and I was impressed with what I saw. So hopefully the Braves are trending upwards. Of course, right now they have the lead wild card spot. They'd be the 4 seed hosting the Padres in a series. Of course, Philadelphia still is the leader of the NL East, but as we have seen the past few years, it's better to be the wild card team and not have the time off. So honestly, I don't want to win the division. I'd rather stay at the top of the wild card.
Yeah, that's true. What like you mentioned last year, a lot of teams were like, I would rather play another game or play another series and be more pump up ready for the divisional round than to have a couple of days off and then not have that momentum. And speaking of momentum, it seems that the Mets, after winning the Cubs series, the Yankee series, and all that grimace mystic, they fell apart. They fell apart. They lost the series to Houston, tied the series with the Nationals, and now also tied the series with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They lost uh, 6 out of the last 10 games. So they're very much 500 team. They're a very 500 team, and it doesn't seem only if they have some bold trades in this All Star break, uh, or some change, they can think about playoffs because right now they're a very mediocre team.
Right. And it doesn't surprise me they didn't beat the Pirates. I mean, Paul Skeens right now is the best rookie in the MLB for Pittsburgh. Like, he has been phenomenal as a pitcher. I mean, a 2.12 ERA as a rookie is ridiculous. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? Because I'm worried the fact he throws 100 miles an hour every single pitch, that arm's going to fall off eventually.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit of a concern this season, definitely.
Absolutely. But I think that one of the big stories is the New York Yankees have lost 15 of 20 and lost over the weekend to the Red Sox. They're now behind the Orioles by 3 games. Should New York be in panic mode?
I mean, they had a really good start. If I'm not mistaken, they were the first team to win 30 games this season. So they had a really good, really hot, April, May, early June, and then maybe they kind of, they're feeling fatigue. It's funny that they got swept by the Reds and also to the Mets. Two teams who are not, contenders so far.
Oh, yeah.
So
And then for the Red Sox, I mean, watch out. They're at 49 and 40. I mean, they are making a run at it, too.
and that's true. This American League East, even Blue Jays and the Rays, you can't count them off. They're still in a lookout. Of course, they're quite a bit behind the Orioles and even the Yankees, but I mean, they can do some damage.
Yeah, and shout out to the Kansas City Royals, too. 49 and 43. That's a team that since they won that World Series back in 2015, they haven't done anything. So it's good to see Kansas City back in the fold.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the despite all the mess in Oakland, the Oakland Athletics are not the worst team in the league. That's really ironic.
And it's the Chicago White Sox, though, and Jason Warwick will tell you they're just as bad, if not worse. In fact, they
Yeah.
are worse than Oakland.
It's funny that at least Oakland has an excuse. Oh, we're gonna leave the city any day. We are planning to go to Salt Lake City or Vegas. But what is the excuse for the White Sox? They're not going anywhere, and they're even more mediocre. And the fans in the north side of Chicago seems to be more pathetic and more kind of not going to the games more than the Oakland Athletic fans.
Right. Well, if they don't want to go to Wrigley Field, I'll go to Wrigley Field because Wrigley Field looks pretty cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have this baseball on hand. But the Rangers, they're not doesn't look like they're going to repeat. Arizona Diamondbacks are only 500. I don't think we're going to get a rematch of last year's World Series, to say the least. But hey,
Yeah.
Dodgers though they look like they're doing all right. 55-36. The Padres, as I said, they would be playing the Braves right now if that were a series right now. So going to be very interesting. Definitely time to really start paying attention. And also shout out to Houston. Houston got off to an awful start, if you remember, at the beginning of the year, and they have turned it around to get back to over 500.
Oh yeah, remember they were got swept by the Yankees in a 4-game series in the literally the first week, and they lost quite a bit of games, but they got back. They won 6 out of their last 10 games.
Right, with a 162 game season, it's a long road, which is why I don't
Yeah.
like to pay attention to the standings until about right now. So we'll see what MLB can do, or we'll see what happens as we head into the All-Star game next week in Texas. Some quick college football. First and foremost, SEC mini days are next week, which means that football is almost around the corner. Be curious to see what obviously the inclusion of Texas and Oklahoma is going to be like.
Yeah,
And
that's
for
probably going to be the most focus on the SEC media days. Is a lot of questions are going to be what the landscape is going to be different. It's a new year. Literally July 1st, it felt like a new era began in college football. Watching even the social media of the SEC, the excitement. SEC Network were in Norman and in Austin promoting it. And if you go to the Big 12 social media, I think I pointed out last week, they seem stagnated and even more like, hey, we want to move on from this departure.
Oh yeah, that's all you can do if you're the Big 12. Tennessee and Josh Head will go on July the 16th with Georgia, Missouri, and Oklahoma.
Oh,
Are the
my
other three
birthday.
teams? Yep, I'll have
Well,
it for your early birthday
I
to you.
can't find where it's going to be this year.
It's going to be in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, it made sense. With you know, uh, with Texas Longhorns being added to the SEC, very
Right.
properly they hosted in the biggest city in the state of Texas.
Yeah, of course, Steve Sarkisian, he's going to be on Wednesday, July 17th. Also, Kalen DeBoer will make his debut with Alabama that day on July the 17th, which that will be really interesting to see because that guy is feeling all the pressure.
Yeah, it's literally, you're taking over a program after a legendary coach retired. So big shoes to fill.
Right. And just looking at all these coaches, I mean, probably the biggest hot seat's probably Sam Pittman at Arkansas on Thursday,
Yeah,
July the
I think,
18th.
I think, I think Billy Napier at Florida is in the hottest
Oh,
seat.
yeah, and he's on July 17th.
Huh,
And
uh,
to be
but
fair, if Florida has a winning record this year, Napier should get another year. Florida's schedule is ridiculous. If they win 7 to 8 games, he deserves to stay.
so no, but you're saying ridiculous in terms of hard or easy?
Oh, it's hard. Let me pull up Florida's schedule real quick. This is the hardest schedule I think I have ever seen in college football. Like legitimately. So they start off week 1 against Miami at home. Week 2 they've got Samford. Week 3 they have Texas A&M at home. Week 4, they go to Mississippi State. Week 5, okay, they get a bye week. Then week 6 rather is home against UCF. Week 7's at Tennessee. Week 8's home against Kentucky. And then they get another bye week. Then week 11 is Georgia in Jacksonville. Then they go to Texas the week after Georgia. Then they get LSU after Texas at home. Then they get Ole Miss right after LSU. And then at Florida State.
Oh my god! If they win one out of those 5 last games, I mean, I'm, it's that second half of the season is brutal.
Oh, yeah. It is terrible. I mean, they'll be lucky to have a winning record. It is that hard. So, look, obviously, I'm here to hit on Florida all day, but I got to be realistic here. Billy Napier's got his work cut out for him this season.
Yeah, because he can say, "Oh, but I guess for him to stay another year, he has to do at least somewhat decent in the first half of the season when he's playing Sanford, UCF, even Miami.
He's got to sweep Miami and UCF.
Yeah, yeah, those 2 games are what people in games we are going to be look at. They have to win those in-state kind of battles.
And I think Miami and UCF will be better teams too. I think UCF will be a sneaky good team this year. And Miami, talent-wise, is better than Florida right now. I just don't know if they have the better coach. As we have extensively covered on this podcast, Mario Cristobal isn't exactly known for his in-game decision-making.
Yeah, I mean, everybody still remembers that last seconds of the Georgia Tech game.
Yeah, I mean, Miami, Florida might be the most interesting game in week 1 because both coaches have so much pressure on them.
Oh, yeah. Whoever wins this game is going to be feeling a lot relieved from the remainder of the season. Whoever loses is going to feeling the, even more harder their seat.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a tense game in the swamp for sure. But also, the other college football topic we're going to talk about, gameplay footage has been released for College Football 25. And Gus, it looks good. I'm going to have to find a way to buy a PS5. It's going to be very expensive. Not great for my bank account, which doesn't look great. But
yeah, I'm the same here. And, I probably will watch you play because in Brazil, with even like taxes and everything, it's a fortune. So
yeah.
I'll watch people play. That's what I can say.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing at least that if I can't buy it myself. But man, it looks so smooth. The graphics look great. Dynasty looks great. And if I do get it, we'll have to do an episode where it's just me playing, and it'll be an atypical episode, and it's just a let's play. I'll have to figure out how to do that.
Definitely.
I will do that if I get the game.
Sounds good. Yeah, but definitely, I think it's funny that the video game came back in the right time. If you think about it, in this new era of college football, that was perfectly fit in this new video game. So now we feel in a new era with the larger conferences and this game that everybody waited for a decade.
I want to try 2 things in Dynasty. I want to try the Dabo Swinney challenge where I never use the transfer portal. And then I want to try the Deion Sanders challenge where I never do high school recruiting and just use the transfer portal.
Yeah, like very opposite sides.
Yeah. Also, one last college athletics note. Baseball is getting some transfers. We got a dude from Niagara today who hits .396. If he doesn't go to the MLB draft, he'll be in Knoxville next year. So shout out to him. The baseballs, they are reloading for next year. It's going to be hard to repeat. Also, Gus, let me show you this real quick. We're starting to get some merch. I'm going to have to turn on my background for a sec. Oh, there we go.
I need to get some of those.
Yeah, champions. Episode 3 reminding you that the Tennessee baseball team is the national champions of college baseball.
And what a
Yeah.
parade that was! I still watch that, and I'm very. Of course, I feel bad that I wasn't there. Definitely, I kind of feel like why this couldn't happen while I was in Knoxville, but still, it's very
Yeah.
great to have that feeling of national championship.
Right. And the name of the transfer from Niagara up in New York is Eric Radizak. I hope I'm saying that right. Also, shout out to Garrett Crochet of the Chicago White Sox for being an All Star. That is Tony Vitello's first All Star in the MLB. So shout out to Garrett Crochet for being an MLB All Star. The last thing I want to touch on, the Chicago street race. Man, this had a potential to be an all-time fantastic race, and the weather ruined it. Think again, second straight year they tried a street race in Chicago and it rains. Go figure. Absolute mess. And the two best drivers got taken out through no fault. Well, actually, Shane Van Gisbergen from New Zealand got taken out through no fault of his own. He won the Xfinity race on Saturday, which was fantastic. It was great weather. Him and Kyle Larson were battling out, duking it out. But then SVG got wrecked by Chase Briscoe, who ran out of talent and overcooked into a corner and forced him into the wall, which sucks because that was the guy I really wanted to watch yesterday. And then Kyle Larson, he oversent in the corner, ran him right into the wall. So the two best drivers were out. And then Alex Bowman, through some really clever strategy, was able to win. And Alex Bowman hasn't won in over 2 years. Frankly, has stunk it up. But okay, that's harsh. He's been consistently running like 10th place, which, I mean, is good, but still, he's in a Hendrick Motorsports car. He should be winning more, but hey, he got the win yesterday, secured himself into the playoffs. Really made Bubba Wallace mad because he wrecked him earlier, not on purpose, but he wrecked Bubba Wallace early in the race, and Bubba Wallace actually hit him after the race. So Bubba Wallace getting a lot of criticism post-race for that. But the real thing I'm upset about is race control. Race control, they're the people who control, when it's green flag, yellow flag, red flag. And I thought yesterday they called a terrible race. So, we have stages, right? So the first stage was 20 laps. And Corey LaJoy, who is a weekly caution at this point, he wrecked on lap 17. And because this is a road course, right? Each pace lap under a yellow flag is super long. It takes like 5 minutes. And because it was the end of the stage, NASCAR just ran the end of the stage under yellow. And then we did the whole thing with the pit stops and everything. And it took 30 minutes from this spin, which was just a single car spin, to get back to green flag action. We have a wreck 2 minutes in, and then we have a red flag for 2 hours. In like a 2.5 hour time span, we had a half a lap of racing. It was ridiculous. And then when we came back from racing and we knew we had to race the clock because they had to throw the checkered flag at 8:20 p.m. local time, they still took the second stage break, which was like another 20 minutes of commercials and a caution. NASCAR has got to find a way to shorten these yellows on road courses. It's ridiculous. Like if you look at F1, for example, they have sector yellows. It's like when someone wrecks on one part of a road course, they don't throw the entire field under caution. They just throw that section of track under caution. And everyone else can still race everywhere else. They just have to go slow in that section of the racetrack. NASCAR needs to learn how to do this. And they need to get rid of stage yellows at these road courses just because they just take too long. And they destroy the flow of the race. And yesterday was a phenomenal event ruined by bad officiating. So that's the end of my rant there. The racing was still good when it was actually racing. And they go to Pocono this week, which is a good track, the Tricky Triangle in Pennsylvania. Could see Martin Truex Jr. getting his final win there. But anyway, that's my rant on NASCAR race control. I thought they ruined a great event yesterday.
Yeah, sometimes those racing officials kind of overstep their boundaries.
Yeah, and it's just like, just call the stage early and let's go to, like, we knew we had heavy rain coming. Just we knew there was heavy rain coming, you could see it on the radar, and yet we wasted 30 minutes under yellow for no reason. It made no sense. I was just sitting there from the couch like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
It just made no sense. Ruined a great event. But in any case, that's all I have. As I said, shortest. This is our first podcast in under an hour, and God knows how long.
Yeah, and I guess that's what happens in July with it's summer in America where there's baseball and people enjoying hot weather, and in Brazil, and they're still in the mid season, and the Brazilian Cup and Libertadores are not on right now. They're gonna
Yeah, I have
resume
been
after.
at the pool like all weekend, and I'm probably about to go back again. So, so in any case, it's summertime. It's hot. It's like it was 98 degrees when I pulled in. It felt like
Oh,
98, guys. So
oh, I miss those temperatures. In Brazil, it's gonna be, it's already changing the weather to cold and rainy. And tomorrow, even though it's a holiday, the weather might not be good tomorrow.
yeah, just stay in, just watch something on TV, and hey, eat some soup. That's all you can do when it's
Yeah.
cold like that. But otherwise, I'm going to be soaking up the sun. Uh, but in any case, that's Gus Tomazeli on Americana Pala Brazil. I'm Nick Hill in Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. And this has been Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. Have a fun